My talk is going to be about speed running to 100K a month as a growth operator. I know a lot of people here are in the operating space, have a lot of clients, want to have more clients. Some people are more from sales, but this is where my expertise lies. We're going to have a lot of other speakers speaking about other stuff. So this is a picture. Wait, let's just make sure the mouse is working. There we go. So this is a photo of me the first time I ever came to Marbella in November of 2024 at the gym that's like 10 minutes away from here. And at this moment in time, I was making 2 or 3K a month as a setter. So I finished my A-levels, summer of 2024, and I was here like with a few friends and I was not making a lot of money. The next time I came was in, why is this mouse not working? Yeah. So this is a photo of me the last time, as in the most recent time, I was here in Marbella in March of 2025. And at this point in time, I'd made about 5K a month as a setter and I was doing some setting coaching. This was around the time, where's Mo? Mo isn't here yet, but around the time Mo started working with me, I really had no direction. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And literally we are 15, 16 months, 15, 16 months after that. Last month we did 97K in total business revenue between the agency, between the consulting offer, between tickets for this event, which was obviously a very, very small portion. And we've done over 5 million, or I've done over 5 million in total revenue for clients. And when I tell people this, when I get on calls with people and I say, kind of, this is like where I started, the number one thing people say is like, you've moved so quickly. For me, like, okay, you know, 90K a month, all of this, like there's margins involved. It's not like that's coming into my bank account every single month, of course. But the most important thing for me is like why I'm doing this, because a lot of people buy watches, cars. We would have kind of spoken about this and the money will just disappear. And for me, the most important thing is obviously being able to do things like this for my mum and for family and different things. So yeah, okay, another one. So yeah, I've already kind of said this. And I think every single 6 months that I've been in business, I've changed so much. So like when I started, obviously I knew nothing, did setting for 6 months, then closing and management for the next 6 months, then learning marketing, then building a team. And every 6 months, it goes very fast. And I've known some of you for longer than 6 months, and it can go like some of you don't move with as much speed, which is why today I'm going to be talking about speed and initiative. This is something that I drill into the team a lot, and something I heard on a podcast about Elon. Whether you hate him or you love him, he operates all of his businesses. He's running like 3 or 4 businesses, and he says a maniacal sense of urgency is our operating principle. He is just so quick. Imagine like you're building a business in the last, like you have 10 years and you've got to land a rocket. Like land a rocket that's in space. Like, of course you need to move with such speed to be able to do that. And of course, we all know Alex Hormozi, money loves speed. If you want to make a lot of money, you have to be so quick. So this presentation is going to be how all of you can be a lot quicker. I'm going to be going over the 5 kind of principles that I've taken away, give some examples on that you can actually use in your guys' businesses and your guys' journeys for being quicker. So the first, I've called them all accelerants, like how can you accelerate and go faster? The first thing is focus. So I think everyone's heard of macro and micro focus. So micro focus is not switching tasks every 10 minutes when you're working, so not getting distracted, not scrolling reels. I think everyone knows that. And I think you skipped 2 slides, but macro focus is obviously what do you focus on? What is the business model? What is the type of thing that you're doing? But the focus I want to drill down on in this kind of part of this presentation is focusing on the highest revenue generating activity in your business. Because this is something, obviously on a lot of coaching calls, I speak to a lot of people about, and I see so many people just not focusing on the right thing. And of course, like I'm guilty of doing this, I'm not perfect. I've spent hundreds of hours in Claude building like useless agents for months and doing things that just haven't moved the needle forward. But like I said, a lot of people I've coached and spoken to just don't focus on fixing the most important thing that would make them a ton more money. So, for example, if you're a closer, and I think everyone can relate to this example because a lot of people here are in sales, you might think that the most important thing that you can do to make more money is like bettering your objection handling, getting more sales coaching and paying 10K for it. But realistically, getting on a better offer would actually make 2 times like the amount of income that you make without changing anything about your skills. And if you're a closer, running your own business with more leverage could probably 5 extra income, but of course there would be a lot more skill involved in that. So a lot of people, like in terms of like how they think, are just not looking at the right thing. So, and another thing's like, I think a question on the back of this is, okay, what should I focus on? And I think for most people, they know exactly what it is. Like, you kind of know what the thing is you should be focusing on. For some people in this room, it might be learning how to run ads. It might be like writing a 400 slide webinar. It might be, they could be like hiring more people in your team. And all of those things are probably the most painful thing. If you think about, okay, what should I do today? What's actually going to move the needle? It could be making content. A lot of people have a ton of resistance to making content. I did for such a long time. If you can just pick out the most painful thing, it's a very, very good indicator that it's the thing that you should be doing. So yeah, like I said, if you like writing a 500 slide webinar takes a few days, it's difficult. You have to do a lot of research. You have to do a lot of writing. And the same for all the other examples I gave. It's probably the number one thing that you should focus on. Yes. And yeah, so like throughout my journey in 2 years, I have had to consistently learn so many new skills, and that has required consistent focus on the highest revenue generating activity for me at the time. So I went from, like I said here, setting, closing, managing sales teams, then writing webinars, thanks to Charlie over here, then content, ads, hiring, building SOPs. All of these things like have been just a new battle, and this never ends, right? That's kind of business as a whole. It's always going to be difficult. No one is, if it was easy, right, no one would do it. And you cannot expect it to get any easier. If you're hoping that one day you're going to retire with a lifestyle business, I think everyone in this room is not the type of person who wants that. You're going to want to have the next challenge, the next income goal. I said, yeah, I want to make 10K a month, and then 20, and then 30, and then 50, then 100, then more. You kind of just have to learn to enjoy the process and just always focus on that most painful thing. So also, yeah, another thing I heard from Jeremy Haynes when he spoke at an event that me, Marcus, and Charlie were at recently, is that you shouldn't lie to yourself about what you need to focus on. A lot of people will kind of know in the back of their mind, okay, it's content. I really need to just post more content, more consistently, better content. But they might say, no, today actually I really need to do this thing. And no, I don't have time because I've got this thing. And they will just lie to themselves. So be very careful and catch yourself thinking like, oh no, this isn't the most important thing just because it's something difficult. And yeah, as soon as you find the bottleneck, of course, you need to execute with speed. It's all well and good for me to say on a presentation about speed, okay, find the right thing to focus on, but as soon as you know what it is, you just have to move very, very quickly on it, and that's something that I've done like very fast. For example, with Dom, we're hiring a setter manager. I say to Dom like 3 days ago, we need to hire, same day we make the application, next day I do 3 interviews and we find a really good candidate and he's onboarded and he's already ramping setters as we speak. So you really have to move quickly if you want to get exponential results in very short time frames. For example, a year ago, I first spoke to Charlie about webinars, and now like we're doing like so many for so many different clients. I could have deliberated, but you obviously just have to be as quick as possible. So next, accelerant number 2, information. So we are all in the info space, and a lot of us are very, very bad at finding information that will propel us forwards after we find our bottleneck. So I think some people are like, yeah, invest in yourself, which is great. I'm not, this part of this presentation isn't me saying, oh, just invest in yourself, you know, buy this course, buy that course. But I think a lot of people don't actively seek out the information that they know they're missing. Because a lot of you guys are my clients, and I get people coming on group calls or coming on one-on-one calls with me, and they say they have this problem, and I'm like, I have a specific thing that is going to solve that problem for you inside of like an SOP. And it's like, if you have that problem, how have you not found that thing? Why do you need me to tell you after 3 days of, you know, waiting and deliberating over the problem, finding that right information? Because, like I say, this example, in August of 2025, I'd never run a webinar, and fortunately for me, I paid way too small amount of money to Charlie over here, and you can see the Fathom recordings. This is me in Norway, and the Wi-Fi was cutting out a ton. And yeah, for 2 calls. And that was like instantly, I did that to find the right information. And obviously I made a client, you know, 120K off the back of that webinar, which was pretty cool. And I think there is so much information out there on YouTube, number one, that you can find. And if you're like, okay, I know what my bottleneck is. Okay, my bottleneck is content. You don't need to go out there and pay 20K, 15K for a dumb few content agency to do it all for you. Realistically, you can just copy some outliers from other people in the space. You can go on YouTube and like find videos from some of the big content guys in the space and just really try and replicate what they're doing. And if you just put the reps in, you will grow exponentially. So for example, webinars, you don't need the perfect situation to take action in terms of information. There is so much information out there for free. And I think a lot of people wait for perfect situations, and this is for me to convey, you don't need to wait for any perfect circumstances to move quickly. For example, with closing, I never had a coach ever help me with closing. I still hit 10K a month as a closer, just from like YouTube videos. So if you know what the bottleneck is for you, you can find the information. It's all out there. So yeah. And literally also, just on the point of network, because I think it's something I really, really preach as well, just from building friendships, connections, and a network, all of you guys here have everyone else's here phone number. So for example, if any of you need help with a specific thing and there's someone here who is an expert at it, like they would be happy to help, send a text. You're not gonna get like a full 3-hour call with them, but I have a huge network now. If I ever need help with, I don't know, ads, of course, we have Simon here, or webinars, we have Charlie, or copy, we have someone like Hike, or even if I wanted to hire an Italian closer, I know who I would go to, right? So building a network is actually giving you access to that information for free. And obviously then you don't have to pay as much for it when you have friendships and relationships, because if someone asked me for something and I knew them well, I would give it to them for free, So it's about building that goodwill with people. Next, leverage. So this is like a word that people throw around a lot. And we briefly touched on it earlier when I said, okay, setting, closing, like all these skills, building more and more leverage. But if you don't have leverage, of course, no matter what information you get and no matter what you focus on, you're going to be pretty cooked. Because leverage is the difference between input and output, or at least this is how Alex Hormozy defines it. And it can come in the form of things like content, obviously selling one-to-many. But what I wanted to focus on in this part of the presentation is hiring, because I know that Tyler is someone who's looking to hire. I think there's a lot of people who could benefit from this. Svet, I think you should be hiring soon. Emil, Matthew probably very soon. And I definitely would not be able to run we're pacing, $1 million a year in revenue run rate without the people in this room. So without Dom, actually I think I've got slides. Next. So without Simon, of course, who is doing so much writing ads, even like this morning and very late last night, doing stuff for clients. We obviously have Dom, who is managing sales teams. Yesterday, I think we had like 13K a day for Phil, which is really sick. And then people who aren't here today, Nathan Gillard, who are literally managing all the back end, all the content stuff for my business. Without like this team, it would be impossible. Like there is just way too much work to do. I think if any of you have goals as agency owners to get to 50, 100K a month, you might see people on Instagram who say, yeah, 100K a month with one client. That, number one, isn't consistent. And if they're doing it all themselves, it's just not a scalable business. It's not like a long-term thing that you can do. So when it comes to hiring, my 3 biggest things that I have learned after, we're now a team of 7. So you have to pay talent well. Like you have to be willing to pay a lot. You can't be stingy. They have to be bought in on like the big vision. They have to trust you, and they have to trust that where you're going is an upwards trajectory. No one wants to join a team that is kind of going downhill. And you really cannot tolerate B players. I'm all for hiring someone and training them up and molding them into the person that you want to be, but you have to set that standard with every single person in your team of what is tolerable and what is not tolerable. And I think that one of the biggest things that I have learned is like leading from the front. If I have to moderate a webinar at like late at night, I will do it. If I have to spend the whole day rewriting a webinar that I think, why can't someone else on my team do this? Like I could delegate this. You have to be willing to put yourself on the front line for your team, because if they see that, and if all the team is doing that, any new hires that come into the team instantly will mold to that culture. And I think it's so important to be able to, if you want to get the inputs out of your team that you want, you have to be willing to do everything that they do and more, because you're the business owner. How can I expect my team to make sacrifices for my business if I'm not even willing to make those same sacrifices for myself? Like organizing this event was an absolute headache and nightmare, but I know it's going to propel us in the future. If I'm not willing to make a sacrifice to do that, and how can I expect my team to, whilst I'm organizing an event like this, still work on the needle moving tasks that need to be done inside the business? Sorry, I missed that slide, go back one. And of course, you have to build a culture that rewards the right behaviors and punishes the wrong ones. So if someone is being lazy, you have to be very quick to call them out on it, and you have to set the right expectations from day one. So especially for you guys hiring for the first time, it's kind of more difficult because you don't have a culture for them to fit into. But when I first spoke to Simon, we obviously had a very good relationship, and every new person who came in from that, like Dom, like Nathan, they saw the level that we were working at and kind of followed suit. If the first hire you make is like a B player who's kind of lazy, any other hires you make after that are going to think, okay, that's the standard. So make sure that from the get-go, you are rewarding the right behaviors and of course punishing the wrong ones. And then another point on leverage outside of hiring is, especially like when it comes to growth operating, I wanted to make it slightly specific to some of you in the room, is client quality. I think we've spoken a bit about this already yesterday, but in my opinion, the amount of work that you do for a client, at least for me and the clients I've worked with, a client that pays us 3K a month and a client that pays us 20K a month is really the same amount of work. I think it's literally like there is basically no difference. And sometimes the 20K a month client is actually less work. And in a partnership model, you have to have a huge bias. You just have to be completely ruthless towards who you actually choose to work with. Because now if a client isn't someone who actually works hard on their business and cares about their info business, doesn't have a good offer in a good positioning and good niche, and who can actually pay us 10 to 20K a month, then we're just going to say no. And of course, people at the start of their journeys, if they're just getting into operating, yes, it's worth you getting some experience and not having such a strict criteria. But for us as an agency, if we have more than 5 done for you partner clients with the team that we currently have, it's just like a nightmare. It just becomes too much. We can't focus on the quality that we want for each and every client. So this is something that for all of you, especially I think Tyler is one person, like if a client isn't paying you this much, you probably shouldn't sign them, because it's actually worth more of your time. I think I say on the next slide, actually going ahead and using the time that you would have spent working for a client who's going to pay you 5K a month, just that whole month, putting that time into signing a better client who can pay you 10, 20, 30K a month ongoing for the rest of the year, 2 years, 3 years. And yeah, too many people's standards are very, very low. I've had this on so many group calls of like, why are you working with this client? Why are you tolerating this? And you just lose a ton of leverage if your clients are obviously capping you. Accelerant number 4 is quality. And this is quality of work and quality of output. And you may think, okay, quality and speed, they don't really link, but I'm going to explain that. So I really strongly believe that with everything, literally everything, whether it be your outreach, whether it be building a funnel, whether it be writing your ads, that what you put in is what you get out. If you put in to Claude, write me 10 ads for my client, and it takes you 10 minutes to do that, and the client records them and everything, anyone can do that. Anyone can do that. And so what you put into that of 10 minutes of like work, you're going to get the rewards of just 10 minutes of work. Whereas if you spend a ton of time doing market research, writing exceptional copy by hand, you're going to get way more out. So yeah, and even more so in the age of AI, every time, if I hear a Claude scripted ad on my Instagram, really it makes me want to cut off my ears. Like it's really getting annoying to the point where it's like, anything that seems lazy nowadays, like I feel like a lot of AI stuff is just lazy and I'm instantly turned off by it. I was at a mastermind recently where there was talks, like slideshows like this, and it was just AI design, AI written, AI slop copy. And it's like, I would not in a million years ever pay you any money. Because if this is a standard you set for yourself in a talk in front of like 50, 20, 30 people, if I pay you, like what am I gonna get? Is it gonna be just the same stuff? So I think quality of output is just so underrated, especially in the age of AI. And I think a lot of people just severely underestimate the amount of quality work that's needed to build a 100K a month business and the amount of quality people that you need as well. I think it's just like a lot of people think it's going to be easy. Well, not think it's going to be easy, but they just severely underestimate the amount of quality that is needed. Because especially if you're coming into operating, having never run a webinar or written any ads, you literally have hundreds, if not thousands of hours in learning debt to pay. There are people who have been in this kind of marketing info space for 10 years and have 10 years more experience than you, and you're looking to come in and literally compete in their market. Whether you like it or not, if you're running an ad on Meta, you're competing with every single other ad, every single other funnel for a big group of people, but you are competing at the end of the day with those people. So you have literally got to put in so much quality effort to be able to get to their standard. And of course, information and having a good network and being able to speak to people, attend events like this is going to reduce that time that you need to put in working with people and getting that information. But if you aren't sitting down for like 8 to 10 hours a day, every day, and actually producing quality work, not just writing some ads with Claude and calling it a day, then you're not going to grow. And I think producing quality work every single day, not every single day, of course, you're not going to have days where you're up to 100%, is a very huge part of why I've been able to grow so quick. And someone who exemplifies this is Simon on my team. I don't think I've seen anyone who is as productive and as consistent as him on a day-to-day basis. And also Charlie, when I first spoke to you, Charlie, I think I told you on an interview we did, I was just blown away by the amount of effort that he was just putting into everything. Because until that point, I was literally just kind of coasting. I was like, how can I do the least work possible and make the most amount of money? And especially seeing Charlie, it kind of flipped my perspective, and working with Simon is like, how can you do the most work possible, the most quality possible, because that is going to make you the most amount of money. And like I said at the start of this point of accelerant number 4, you might think, okay, won't putting in a ton of work and a ton of time and quality like slow down my speed that I can scale at. But I think the high quality work that you produce, the better results your clients will get. Of course, better results means better case studies, and then of course signing better clients, and then everything can compound very quickly. And with this kind of rev share agency model, better clients is probably the number one thing you can do to make more money. So the higher quality your work means you can quickly sign better clients. It's night and day, and I think especially like being able to show clients like quality landing pages, quality funnels, emails, all of that stuff, quality content that you produce for other clients makes them way more likely to close with you. So yeah, also setting that standard for your team in terms of quality. So you have to, if you want your team to produce high quality stuff, you cannot yourself not do that. So that's another important thing as well, linking back to the other point. And also quality is very rare, like very, very rare. If you stand out and you actually put in a lot of work and you build something cool, like for example, I was talking about outreach. If you actually build someone something in your outreach and you don't just use AI slop and you actually build something interesting. If someone outreached to me wanting to work on my team and they actually built something and they did it out of the blue, like someone like Tom did, I will be way more likely to pay you and want to work with you because you're just going the extra mile and no one is doing it. The bar is really so low. For example, when I started working with my client Leo, who might be coming here later, the offer was doing 30K a month and I came in as a closer. And bear in mind, the funnel, literally the type form had 25 questions. It was the most horrible funnel, no VSL, it was just a type form, book a call, no pre-call emails, no pre-call page, just book a call and they just showed up on my calendar. And bear in mind, I had no idea kind of what operating was at the time. I still went above and beyond for that offer because I basically hired and trained a setter to actually like qualify the leads and go through the DMs, alongside obviously closing the deals, as well as fixing the whole tech. We didn't even have a CRM to fix the tech, the back end. I had to write emails, pre-call emails, all of that stuff. Someone put that on D&D. I had to do all of this and I wasn't getting paid for it. I wasn't getting paid a single penny extra. And I can say that not many closers out there, especially with the state of the closing industry nowadays, with how many people are, I think, a bit lazy, would have done what I did to take that offer to 100K a month, closing all the deals myself and basically operating it at the same time. I was basically operating, closing, and only taking the 10% that I would have gotten anyway for closing. And that level of output and quality, without even getting paid anything extra for it, led to me having the opportunity to do so much more for Leo. And since then we've done 2 mil, of course, won like a bigger rev share deal now. Got Dom helping out with the sales team, and like none of that would have been possible if I didn't put in the quality and the time needed, and also had to learn a ton of stuff to be able to do that. The fifth accelerant that I'm fifth and final one is identity. I think this is probably the most important thing, so I put it last because I think a lot of people, like when you say like a lot of people know what they need to do, but somehow, some way, like you have some sort of level of self-sabotage maybe, or you might need to overcome some kind of internal stuff for you to actually do those things and execute quickly. And if you already see yourself as the person who is doing the kind of next level of things that you need to do, success is really inevitable. So this is an image from one of the first like self-improvement books I read. I was like 15, and it's from Atomic Habits. So Atomic Habits, you have like your identity, which leads to the processes, which leads to outcomes. For me, I think like a better way of framing it is like your identity will form your beliefs, and of course your belief will shape your actions, and inevitably your actions will shape your outcomes. And I've had to constantly evolve the way I see myself to act in accordance with who I want to become. For example, if I still right now saw myself as an appointment setter, which I did when I first arrived, the first time I ever came to Marbella, a year and a half ago, I would not have organized this event. It just wouldn't have happened because I see myself as a setter. What is a setter going to do organizing some event with like 25, 30 people? It just wouldn't have happened. And if I always just saw myself as I am a closer, that is what I do, I'm never going to change from that, I would never have pitched growth operating to Leo. I'd never have pitched doing sales management to him because I'd been like, okay, no, I'm just a closer. There's no opportunity there for me. So I always had to constantly evolve myself, even though it was uncomfortable and say, okay, what is the next level for me? For example, the next level for us in the agency is publishing deals. It's something we've never done. It's a load more complexity. We're literally risking ad spend. We're doing all of that stuff, and it's like just constantly have to evolve very, very quickly. So obviously not is the answer to those questions on the screen, sorry. And yeah, so to scale with speed, you really just have to be willing to let go this is something Jeremy talked about at the event we went to as well, is you have to be willing to let go of, it can be like a lot of different things that you have to be willing to let go of. It can be like an old identity, it can be old beliefs, it can be old habits, it can even be like old people that are in your life that are just not moving you to where you want to go. And any sort of identity change is obviously going to be very painful. Staying where you currently are is comfortable. I think everyone's kind of familiar with this stuff. But I think I should go back a slide. Yeah, if you want to be able to shift your identity and move with such speed, go from this to this to this to this, like I have very, very quickly, you just have to have sufficient reasons. I think a lot of people have heard this quote from Nietzsche, he who has a why can bear almost any how. And for me, one of the most important things is having reasons beyond just myself, beyond the selfish goals of, you know, wanting a car or a watch, which I think a lot of people have when they first come into the space, or I just want to be financially free for myself, make at least, you know, 4K a month, I don't have to work a normal job and I can take care of all my living expenses. Cool, that will motivate you to make 5, 10K a month. But once you're there, you might get comfortable. You might just say, okay, I'm coasting. You do what you need to do at that point in time, but you don't do more. You kind of lose that spark and that motivation and that urgency that you had before. Now, if you guys are here making 2, 10, 15K a month, I was there like a year ago, but I just had a spark for so much more because I had bigger reasons to take significant action. Yeah, the quicker you find your bigger reasons to take significant action, the quicker you will take the significant action. If those reasons are top of mind and they're very, very strong for you, you will just do more naturally. For me, some of my reasons, like I want to be able to pay for my sisters to go to university if they want to. I buy my mum a house, a car, and make sure she's taken care of if she can't work. And of course, have money to provide for my future family. Like those are things that are top of mind for me every day. If I ever feel like, I'm just tired today, I don't want to do this task that I know I need to do. These are things that I really think of that will move me forward. And now, for those of you who don't know about Mr. Sam Ovens, he has this Alchemy of Self document. It's something I talk about a lot, and I think everyone's kind of heard of this, but not many people actually use it. And something that's been huge for me is actually using it and looking at it every single day. So this is like a vision board that I had, and this is like 1 year goals that I wrote about like a year ago. So I've got like, okay, make 100K a month, and like we're nearly there. And if we head to the next slide, this is like June of 2025. I wrote, okay, I want to make 50K a month with the agency in 1 year, and I want to build a foundation for my personal brand. And these are things that I wrote a year ago. I looked at them every single day, and this was like in the Alchemy of Self, you've got like a storyboard of like what you've done so far, what you want to achieve. So I was closing, it's like my desk where I was closing for Leo initially, then doing more management stuff. Then I hit the first 30K a month, like as a growth operator solo. And then like my next goals were, okay, build a strong niche personal brand, not like 5K followers, but I would say I've got like a pretty strong personal brand, pretty strong network. And then I wanted to make 50K a month as like a half done for you. Okay, I've got some done for you clients and some other clients that are done with you, which I hit very quickly. And then like one of the other things, like buy my house and a car, I've done one of them. The other one should be coming soon. So that's pretty cool. It's like I've been able to kind of see, and I actually had one in 2024, which I didn't add to the slides, which was like, my first goal was make 2K a month online. And even writing that down on my document was like, I cannot see a world in where that's possible. Like I had no business skills. And I think what you have to like, you want to write down, in my document at least, like my perspective is you want to make your goals so big on that document and look at them every single day to the point where even if you don't reach them like in the time frame that you set, you've still done amazing. And the final things I want to leave you with is that there is so much money out there. There is so much opportunity, there's so much to do and achieve. And you just have to be faster if you want to achieve it. So what can all of you do to move quicker? We've got some time for Q&A. So I might even go around the room and say, okay, what can you do to move quicker? But if anyone has any questions, please shout out, put your hands up on anything related to what I spoke about or non-related to what I spoke about.
When it comes to hiring, how do you sell someone on the vision?
I think you have to be very competent in what you do. You have to be very, very clearly, okay, you have to have the proof to back it up. I think if you don't, then it's going to be more difficult. But if you don't have a lot of proof, but you are so confident, it's like sales. When you're selling someone, what is the number one thing you can really do? Like, even if you have no kind of sales skill, if someone came up to you in the street and were like, you've got to do this, this is going to be the most amazing, if they have a ton of conviction, I think conviction is the word I'm looking for, then you're going to be way more likely to be bought in. So you can't be like umming and ahhing. Of course, you have to set realistic expectations, but you also have to be just, when you are talking about what you want to build, you have to have so much conviction that it is going to happen, even if you aren't sure. That's the only way you're going to get someone to be bought in. Simon, would you share when you first started working with me, what made you kind of... interested.
Yeah, good question. I think you nailed it. Like it's really your passion about the work that you're doing yourself. And as Louis said, like he taught me a lot of stuff, and he was like really taking initiative, writing the webinars, showing me exactly like. But one thing I think when it comes to hiring is that you gotta find the right person that actually has the spark.
They have to want to.
Yeah.
They have to be they have to, like, Simon is someone who I think, Dom as well, is someone who they really like. If you don't like what you do, you probably shouldn't do it. If the person I'm hiring doesn't really enjoy what they do, it's like a no. For example, I started off in sales. I realized that I don't really like sales that much compared to being like more creative and more on the marketing side. I've always like grown up, I always liked writing, I always liked reading. I preferred that. But someone like Dom has like, it's just, whether he likes it or not, is clearly very passionate about sales with the teams and cares so much. I think he cares. I think you don't even have to like it. Of course, if you like it, it helps. But finding someone who cares about what they do, they're going to be way more likely to be bought into a vision because it's something they care about. Like, it's an industry they care about. It's a topic they care about. I think that's also really, really important. And in terms of when you're hiring, this is another thing I want to say. Building a brand, even if it's small, like I don't have a lot of followers. Every single hire I made has been through having a brand, having YouTube videos, having Instagram videos, having stuff documented. For example, Hike. I spoke to Hike on a call in October of last year, just on a call. I don't think he would have hopped on a call with me if I had never posted a single result and I had 100 followers on Instagram and a blank profile. I don't think he would. And through Hike, I met Simon. I'm not sure how I hired Dom as a sales rep, but like other hires that we made in the agency, like Nathan, who was on the screen, was following me on Instagram because he saw a YouTube video from me and he was like, oh, this guy's cool, he's kind of in the space. And then when I make an application post, they might want to work for me because I've documented everything. So if you are going to be hiring, like I say, building a brand is something that compounds so much over time because it not only will help you sign clients, but also help you find talent. Does anyone want to be a bit vulnerable and say, okay, this is something that like I need to move more quickly with? Is there anything that you guys have felt, okay, from this presentation, what can I do? Brand. Okay, so what do you need to do to fix that?
Just post reels. I was talking about this with Hike. Like, I've been putting it off for like, months and months. But like, YouTube video, I already had like one video posted. But I need more and reels.
Yeah. Is it, like, why haven't you done it before? What have you been telling yourself about like content?
For me, yeah, like, I was like, I'm fulfilling already my clients. I'm busy. I don't have time. Like these things.
I think time is a big one. Like even for me, there's like periods where I have less time and I post less content. But if you hold a standard for yourself for me, it's like one YouTube video a week. And there's times where I don't do it, but like that is my standard of like the minimum. And for reels, it's like, okay, I need to post at least a couple reels a week, a few stories a week. If that's my minimum standard and I just don't go below that, there's times where I can post more. But I say, if I just never go below that, even if the quality isn't good, if I just maintain that consistency, it doesn't have to be a perfect video. I think that's also something that everyone, in terms of content, will struggle with. It's like, I want my Instagram page to be perfect. Every single YouTube video has to be perfect. First of all, you're never going to be perfect. Also, I think Instagram, from what I've seen, especially with Hike and some other people on Instagram, is like just the volume of posting. The more volume you post, the better. The more you have reach. Even if your reels are getting 1,000 views, those 1,000 people are actually like very, very niche to your audience because the meta algorithm is insane with how good it is. So yeah, I completely agree. And I think I've very much spoken on the value of building a brand and also your brand building a better network for yourself to even sign clients, like getting inbound opportunities through referrals just from having a decent like brand with even just a few hundred followers. Anyone else?
I think again, I've been similar sort of issues. It kind of comes together with like a personal brand and hiring. Like you said, your personal brand allowed you to get those hires, and I think I kind of got stuck in this sort of vicious cycle where because I've only got one client, even though he's a larger client, there's more opportunity. I've been kind of telling myself that I can't make those hires because I'm not big enough. I'm not like an agency yet. I don't have the consistency in my revenue, but like. So hiring is what I need to gain that, to get the consistency.
Exactly.
To be able to scale.
It's a risk. It's a risk, right? For us, hiring a setter manager is like, okay, we're going to hire a setter manager. I'm going to decrease my margin. Dom's going to lose a bit of his margin. But we know with where we want to go, and Dom trusts me, I trust him, when we know we're going to go further. And it's going to allow him to have so much more time to focus on the bigger things. I think hiring for us now is like allowing some of the A players on our team, like me, Simon and Dom, to even have more time for ourselves. You have to make hires to support your original hires. But for your point of like, you're kind of in the vicious cycle, I would say one thing you can do that I kind of did with Simon, because I was very kind of apprehensive about hiring. I knew I wanted to find talent. I didn't know how to compensate. And I think paying them a percentage of what you make initially, if it's the right person, can be a very good way to get a start. And you say, okay, for the first 3 months of working together, we're going to do some sort of percentage. So number one, they're super incentivized to make sure that you make as much money as possible because you're paying them out of what you make. And then you can like reassess after a few months. Of course, it has to be someone you're very confident in. In terms of like, what have you been doing to hire? Have you like, are you just kind of like putting it off?
Yeah, I'd say I've been moving it to the side and just.
Mm-hmm. So one thing like for hiring as well is like what? So you're looking to hire a copywriter, right?
Yeah, copywriters. Obviously, get a sales manager back in because.
And sales manager.
Yeah,
So number one, being here, sales manager. Obviously, we have a lot of people who are setters and closers, and who know a lot of people. So I think hiring through network and saying like every single person you speak to, I'm looking for a really good sales manager. Speaking to closers and setters on call, do you know any good salesmen? Are you looking like, if you find like for me, Dom was like one of the top performers that I ever hired as a closer. And so for me, I saw the characteristics in him that would be a good manager. So it's very easy for me to make that decision. So if you can even go to closers and setters and say, do you know any other closers and setters who are looking to become managers? Are you yourself, like going through that process can be something good. But I think doing that, and another example is like finding Simon through Hike, finding a person and saying, do you know anyone else I can speak to? Or that type of thing compounds very quickly over time, which is why I think doing like just networking calls, which is something I learned from back in the day with setting. Like when you're trying to land your first setting role, you're trying to speak to as many just different people as possible, trying to grind your way through and just find one opportunity. You're gonna have to maintain that and keep doing it for when it comes to hiring and building a network and even signing clients. In terms of like the process for hiring, do you have like, because when I hire, I make like a document. Okay, this is what you're gonna do. This is the compensation. This is what you have to do to apply. That's my process. Do you have something like that so that when you are like meeting people like at this event or speaking on call with people, that you can just send them and say like, can you just send this around in your network? Do you know anyone?
Yes, I've got like one for the sales manager right now, which I used
Perfect.
to get my first guy on. But yeah, definitely for copywriting, I need to get them together, same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like you mentioned the presentation, just content, network, start pushing both those things.
Exactly.
The right person will come around.
Exactly. Because like, for example, when I was looking for someone like Tom, I interviewed a lot of people. So it's like 5-10 different people. Although like I didn't hire one of them because maybe they weren't a good fit, one of those people that I spoke to, I really liked him. He just didn't have the experience I was looking for. In my group, someone was looking to hire a copywriter, Jezrin, if any of you know him. And I was like, let me just connect you with him. So building like connection with people like me, other people in this room, and asking them and having them really genuinely just having an Instagram account who just have a lot of followers in the info space. You can put up a story and say, I will pay $300, $500 for anyone who refers me someone who I hire. That's also very worth it if it's like a very, very good candidate. So I think it definitely comes down to the content and the brand as well. So knowing that, like this is what I mean about what is the highest revenue generating activity. If you know you need to hire, but the bottleneck for you hiring is actually, having a better brand and having more people be able to see you, then you need to, okay, literally after this, I'm gonna make a YouTube video, I'm gonna start posting a YouTube video a week, I'm gonna start posting a couple of reels a day, and I'm gonna hop on 2 calls a day with people who might be good to speak to, who might be able to refer me to. For example, if you're hiring a sales manager, I know a group of like a recruitment pipeline called Growthline, I think, if anyone knows Trey who runs it. I'm sure there are a ton of like very good closers, very good setters, or even sales managers themselves in that group, who if they hear about an offer that has done the numbers that you've done with it, that is going to look to be running consistent paid ads and is willing to give a 5% rev share to a sales manager, it's going to be like a no-brainer for some of them. So like even now, like if you just speak to me after the event, I'll add you to that group. You can put the job hiring post, and it's done.
Awesome, sorted then.
Sorted, exactly. So it's just about really pinpointing, okay, what is the number one thing I can do? For you, coming to this event, the number one thing I can do is find talent for my business. Every single person I would be saying, we're looking to hire this, we're looking to hire this. Anyone else want to speak. We've probably got like 5 minutes, because if not, we're already overrunning. We'll have Hike speak next.
You've mentioned quality, that it's rare, and you have to make sure that what your outputs are quality. So
Yes.
when you're at the stage where you're not sure what quality actually looks like, how can you check on that and make sure that you're making quality content?
Through having obviously a mentor, reference point, information. So when I remember, before I hopped on call with you, Charlie, I tried to write a webinar deck based on his YouTube videos. So I tried to write it, and I remember it was just horseshit. It was so horseshit. It was so bad because I didn't really have a reference point. We hopped on call, and even just on the call, I think for like 5 or 10 minutes of the call, we just opened a deck that he had written for a client. And what I'm talking about quality, this was like 450 slides, 1 point per slide, design absolutely dialed. And I was like, oh, this is the barrier. This is the level that is possible, that I can get to. And Charlie would probably say in the past year since he's done that webinar was a bit naff with all the new stuff that he's learned and he's done. So there's always another level. I think number one, having a very good reference point is the first thing. And then number two is just like iteration. You're gonna be shit. Your first everything is gonna be shit. The first ad campaigns we probably ran for clients were shit. The first sales calls I had were absolutely horseshit. Although I did close them, but they were super warm leads. But I digress. Like, you just have to just do. You have to have a reference point, try and match it, get feedback from the market, which is going to be painful. It's going to be very difficult, like doing something shit and it's going to flop. You just have to keep doing it. You just have to keep failing, and you'll grow.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
Woo!
Thank you. And thank you. Alrighty, I think next up we have Hike. Let's do like a little 10 minute coffee break, water break, and then we'll come back for Hike. Also, we'll try and fix this.
Just click.
Yeah,
Just
no, just
click
click on the mouse, and then